I don't know, but that's a good question. Or even the LPG tractors, or methane tractors. It's sort of, if you're not using diesel to do a task, but it all seems to revolve around how much driving, or at least some of it appears to involve how much driving do I need to do to complete a task. And I could be totally wrong premise. But for some reason, they like you spraying chemicals to kill weeds rather than using mechanical means, which is kind of weird. Especially since base game, mechanical weeders don't impact your yield, where chemical weeders, chemical weed herbicide stuff does affect your yield. So it's all kind of weird. So truth be told, I really don't understand it. Especially not considering all the kerfuffle going on in Europe at the moment about putting nitrogen on your field and not putting nitrogen on your field, and I know the UK has an issue with spreading slurry on your field, and I can't remember whether it was the 1st of January this year or the 1st of January next year. You have to have a dribble bar on your slurry tanker in order to use it legally. But I'm kind of a cynic, and I wonder how much of that is rich people moving out to the country and then complaining that the country stinks. But the thing is I think there is a, as I've said in previous weeks, I think with the general, with if you're not playing with precision farming, then everything you do that is beneficial to the field, so ploughing and fertilizing twice and lime and all the things and all the stuff, will get you a better yield. But in precision farming, there's a cap, and so if you do everything, you still can't exceed the cap for the soil type that you're planting in or you're farming in. So is that why herbicide doesn't adversely affect yield in precision farming? Because you're doing everything else, and so you're just not seeing the negative because you just got too much positives there. So if we go here, our nitrogen sucks. Canola needs a huge boost, but looking at this, the expected yield is 75%, the potential is 100. So I need to do some stuff on this field to push me back up to 100% yield. And that's because of the soil type. I mean, I think there's better soil on this field that gives me a potential of 125 in some case. This is sandy loam, yeah. So maybe I'm not going to fertilize. I'm definitely not going to fertilize this field until the crop starts growing. But maybe what we'll do for science is add some sensors to our sprayer and spray it for weeds at the end of, as things start happening, and see if that yield potential drop, or the current yield drops because we put fertilizer, because we put herbicide down. And yeah, I remember, back when I was living in Europe or in the UK, there was a whole thing back in the 70s about curved cucumbers, and that got a lot of ridicule on some of the news magazine shows, which weren't so much news, this is what's happening in the world. They're more, hey, here's some local interest stories. So they'd cover things like country fairs occasionally or whatever. One year they had the April Fool's joke of farmers in Italy going out to harvest spaghetti from the spaghetti trees, and they'd actually gone out into the fields or into the orchard and strung spaghetti from the trees, so they could show these farmers harvesting the spaghetti. And for years people believed that spaghetti came from trees, which is very funny. To be fair, I probably didn't need to buy the seed, because frankly this is actually, we've probably got the room to do a left turn here. I've forgotten what I was saying, but yes, so canola is a very efficient crop to plant, so we probably didn't need to buy extra seeds at this point. But we did, so that's that. I think we will clip the edge here. There we go. So again, this is the third headland, so we'll probably start planting rows after this. But this seeder is really good. It's a no-till, so I don't have to cultivate the land. Obviously, if you've got needs ploughed on the field, I don't know if that makes a difference for precision farming, but I tend to try and get that eliminated as soon as possible, because then you don't have to go back and deal with it. But we might do, I don't know, we might look at doing some tests with ploughing later in the series. Yes, I was aware of that with soybeans. Now we're planting canola here. The problem, the thing is at the moment soybeans is a soybeans is a spring plant, so I'm trying to keep the soil planted at the moment. Because that's the other thing. I did watch a YouTube video the other week that somebody did, and our old trick of let's plant oilseed radish really doesn't look like it's beneficial. And the issue is while oilseed radish is really efficient seed user and saves you money over artificial fertilizer, the problem he discovered was oilseed radish adds 40 litres per hectare of nitrogen, and so when you compare that to what you can get, or how much it costs relative to the seed cost for planting oilseed radish, the saving is minuscule. But then you have to factor in, I'm driving the tractor with a seeder, and then I have to drive a tractor with a cultivator, which costs money on maintenance and fuel. And it boils down to be perfectly honest, oilseed radish isn't. It's good environmentally to do. It will protect your soil, but functionally in farm sim, it costs you more to plant oilseed radish and rip it up than it does to spray fertilizer on the field. So you get the whole why am I doing this question. Now the natural sort of spreading slurry, spreading manure may be better, but again, it's sort of, do I really need to? Because with the fertilizer, I'm going out with the fertilizer spreader once. And if I've got all of my sensors set up, so we've got sensors on this tractor for fertilizer, and we're doing all the rest of it, it uses exactly enough fertilizer to get the crop that has been planted to the best yield. And again with lime, it's sort of, you can lime every single harvest just to keep your pH at the most perfect levels. I'm not sure it makes a significant difference on the yield, and you can possibly go 2 or 3 harvests before you have to throw down some more lime. But it's going to cost you whether you do 1 or 10, every time or every 10th time, you're still going to use up the same amount of lime, because it's putting down enough to balance out the pH. So if you harvest twice, that's 2 steps of pH done. I know it's 3 like the base game, but it's because it's metered usage. And that was my suspicion. It's probably 3 before it starts affecting the yield. But if I put lime down every single time I harvest, it's just an automatic thing I do. So I don't have to concern myself with, do I need to lime this time, or should I wait till next time? I can just say, right, we've harvested, put the lime down, and it won't use much. So, the only time you're using a ton of lime is when you buy a new field and you have to put lime down. But outside of that, you can just, it only takes a little bit to get it back to the level it needs to be to register as perfect. So, yeah. Okay, so the other thing we could do here is put down a couple of bee places, bee houses. Although we won't be planting canola on this field every single time. I could just put a couple of beehives down, put the collection point in the yard, and it would create more more continuous income for the farm. I mean, obviously we've got the greenhouse where we're growing the tomatoes at the moment. Yeah. I think maybe I want to do a couple more end rows on this field. Huh. Yeah, that's probably not a thing for me. I tend to end up in the emergency room if I have bees. But I do appreciate having access to honey for stuff. And it has been said that if you eat local unfiltered honey, it can help you with your allergies. So when the plants are throwing up pollen, it can help eliminate that problem for people who have allergies. Okay. Just a tiny bit there. But that is giving me enough room to actually turn the seeder around and be on the next row, which it seems 3 headlands isn't, and that's probably the size of the tractor. And that's the other thing, we could run this seeder on a much smaller tractor. I think the double would need this one. I mean, the thing, we live outside of the main city. So we could possibly do things like chickens or goats or sheep or something. But our land isn't really ideal for doing that. And if we set up an area for growing stuff, we would need fencing to keep the giant field rats out of it. Because they just eat everything. Or destroy everything. Although if you plant... Oh, I can't remember. Some purple flowery thing that just looks pretty in purple. The deers don't like that. So... your vegetable garden may survive better. I can't remember what they don't like, but apparently it's quite common. A lot of animals don't like I can't remember. It's a flowering plant that has purple flowers, and a lot of rodents don't like the smell, so they stay away. We did that last year. We've got a couple of planters next to the garage. We planted some carrots. And I don't think it was marigolds, but some purple flowering plant, and the rabbits and deers and Bob the groundhog just completely left them alone. The carrots didn't grow very well, but they did leave them alone. So That does work. A friend of ours has got a vegetable garden, and he's put a very loud scarecrow in it. Which serves to keep the critters out. Yeah, it's still missing. I'm thinking the problem I have doing the turn at the end is because of the length of the drawbar and the turn radius of the tractor. We're just not able to do it with this particular seeder. If we got the double, it possibly could work, because the double's double width. Yeah, I'm not too fussed about the groundhog. It's just the one. It lives at the bottom of the yard in a tree that fell over years ago, or the remains of a tree that fell over years ago. So the roots pulled up the dirt, and he pretty much keeps to himself. We did catch him one year up on our deck, but he seemed to figure that probably a good idea to stay off the deck, because there's humans that occupy that space. But I've decided to let, the bottom of the yard is... There's a wooded area at the bottom of our yard. We don't own the wooded area, but the trees keep falling down and depositing chunks of wood on the grass area. And where the tree that used to be there fell over and the groundhog's living under it now, I just don't cut the grass there, because I don't know what's buried in what's lying there. Plus there's a mound of dirt, so the mower doesn't travel over it too well. So I just leave it as wild. So I'm just leaving the bottom of the yard as wild. Yeah. Critters want to live there, they can do it. And because of the tree hazards, it saves having to go out every time I want to mow the grass to look for all the sticks that are going to trash the mower. Okay, we'll get this bit here. And it's 20 after 12. And this bit here. I think I will get that bit there too. Alright, let's get back to rows. So we'll probably, actually we've got, so we've got the Vermeer drop this week. And I do want to swap our rake for the Vermeer rake. Not for any functional, desperation as far as the farm is concerned, but I just want to give that one a try out. So that's the driver behind that. I'm probably not going to pick up any more of the Vermeer kit, at least for now. Kind of like we did with the Kubota. I've used the Kubota spreader, because it does lime, although it probably shouldn't. And I've used the Kubota Tedder. We have one, I believe. But I'm, with most DLC, I don't go out of my way to use it. But I do have a few issues with the rake that we're currently using, so switching over to the Vermeer might make me happier. So it's a happiness thing. It's not a DLC's come out, I have to use it all. And I'm probably not going to get into the self-propelled roundy thing baler, just because it costs $250,000 almost, and my usual thing of why am I spending $250,000 on a thing that does one task when I can spend $250,000 on a nice tractor and less than $100,000 on a piece of equipment to haul behind it, and I can use the tractor for all sorts of mischief that a self-propelled baler can't do. Same with self-propelled mowers and all of the rest of the gubbins that we can get hold of. So let's just drive across here. And this is why GPS would be a useful thing, because we could do the row thing and just follow the GPS track and not waste a trip down the field because we missed 2 meters of dirt for planting. But yeah, so for the course of this week, I will probably do a few more harvesting contracts, just because it's an easy way for us to make some money and be able to afford the stuff. I'll be selling the bales, obviously, at 7:30 in the morning, so there's no bales for sale. Did I look at the sales? It's a new day. That's always a thing. Yes, we did. There was the 8S, which is super cheap, but don't really need an 8S right now. So yeah, oops. But yeah, so one canola field. I think when we started this series, this was a so this field contains sunflowers. We planted barley because I had to restart the series because new map, new game save. We did end up, this field had canola in it, but it was already harvested by the time I bought the field because contracts. And as soon as a harvesting contract comes up, it disappears unless you have a suitable mod that prevents such things. Now, we should be seeing in patch 1.7, hopefully that particular issue gets fixed. Possibly the grass, the baling contracts get fixed too. Having watched the Vermeer bale shredder, I'm probably not going with it. It does have a self-loading mechanism, so you lower down the back, you can reverse it into a bale and then lift it into the shredder. But it's kind of like some of the old bale lifters that the bale just gets tossed around and doesn't really get picked up, and it especially doesn't with the 180 centimeter bales. So as I said, probably going to skip that. I do want a shredder because we are not producing manure